My name is Jean Young, and I'm chairperson of the Finance and Property Committee. To my right is Andrew Kirkpatrick, who's actually the secretary of the committee. Chad Worrell, who's a member of the committee, is not here. He's been excused. So if everyone else would please introduce themselves.
Tim DeSarcy.
Chuck Kuhn, Water and Light.
Shane Blazer.
Jim.
Jim Brown, Water and Light.
Bob Nash, City Council.
Ryan, Observer.
John Harper, Water and Light.
All right, so item 2 is Waterworks and Lighting Commission 2014 budget. Jeff, did you want to kick us off? Is there
Sure.
the highlights again? We've been through this once, and then there were some changes that we requested, and I think your commission has met, or Jem, if you want to speak to that, whomever.
Yeah, we met last Wednesday morning on the issues of the GIS specialist and putting an addition onto the water main projects, and then also adding the salaries to the
And they're in
schedule,
here,
and
I
all
see,
those
so,
were
yeah.
approved by the commission. So
I think those were our only
Yeah,
outstanding issues.
I think that you go over most of the highlights the first meeting, correct?
first
He
meeting.
did,
Water
and
review
he
those.
did a really nice job.
Good.
So we, again, had a good understanding. In the future, and I likely will not be here to worry about it, but somehow we have to figure out a way to communicate better on street projects and
I
water
agree.
projects so that we're all on the same page when it comes to budget time, so.
Maybe that means the city takes on one less project and we do something
Or
else with that.
somehow, well, we just need
Right.
to get together
Right.
because we can't have the two budgets
Right, but if
being
it doesn't, if
incongruent,
they can't
Right.
Afford it or swing it in
right?
theirs or.
Then
they
we
got-
need to know that
Yep,
sooner
I
versus
think
later.
actually, Gene, we've actually already sent a list to engineering of projects that we would like to see in 2015 based
Excellent.
upon water main breaks throughout the town, and then they can kind of look what the street and sewer needs and then go from there.
Excellent. All right, did you have any other questions? I knew what my priorities were and they fixed them, so.
I prompted Jeff, before everybody else kind of walked in. As was shown on page 23, that the road projects, the water development projects that we had discussed at the last meeting.
Right.
And then just asked him to elaborate as to where and what other things got moved around, shuffled a bit to make room for those within the budget.
That'd be great.
And at this point, there's really nothing pinpointed to say this is out in 2015 or going further. I think where Water and Light is, we kind of have a threshold. We want to be around $500,000 for water main construction. So the $70,000 that got included in this year's budget or in the 2014 budget will ultimately just allow us to put less in our depreciation fund for future years' funding. So at this point, it's too early to tell, what project won't happen, but it's just basically that depreciation fund won't be funded as much.
Okay.
At the same level.
It's capital, doesn't affect the O&M budget at all.
Okay.
Just kind of one other point too with these two projects, since the initial discussion of the budget, both projects have kind of changed in scope a little bit, so that number will likely be a little less, but we just left it at the same number for consistency purposes.
Can you elaborate on the scope that's changed at all?
Sure, on 4th Street, which is between East Grand and Oak, it's one block section, and I believe they've talked with the engineers, we're just gonna cap that water main as opposed to replace it. It's 110 years old, but it serves nothing and it dead ends when it comes to Jackson.
There's no active taps
There's
on it.
no active taps, so
property.
at that point, they're just gonna cap it and be done with it at that point. So we'll pay our share on that and the water road construction to fix that. Will likely be less than that 24,000 budgeted number. And on the Clavine project, in talking with Dale, they went from a through street to a cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
So essentially, there should be less water main at that point, but
Okay.
we're just keeping the same budget number since I
And
think
this-
it's too early to know what the project costs are gonna be now.
And this is totally an engineering style question, but would it, you talked about capping the one on 4th, would it maybe make more sense or less sense to remove the pipe entirely so that it wouldn't collapse at some point in the future and degrade the road surface
Well, I
above
believe
it?
that,
and
I'm
put fill
assuming
in?
they do that, or I don't know.
I have
I mean,
no
the road will
idea.
be,
Right,
so I'm
right.
assuming they probably just
Okay,
cap it down.
that they would do that, okay.
We'll cap it at wherever, yeah.
Oh, okay, wherever we tee off, I got you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
gonna
you.
sit in.
Okay.
I think it actually serves a few customers right up to where we're gonna tap it, so, and then the rest of it'll be.
Would be water.
Oh,
Okay,
gotcha.
gotcha.
John, was there anything that you wanted to add about
No, I don't think so. I
the
mean,
state of
Jeff covered
affairs
the
at
high-
Water and Light in general?
Everything, everything's good.
Well, that's good. Good to hear. Are there any other questions regarding the Water and Light budget? All right, I don't hear any. Tim, nothing?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the 2014 Waterworks and Lighting Commission budget as presented.
And I'll second that. For one last opportunity, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you
Thank you.
sincerely for the work and pulling the commission together and, making this smooth.
Very
So,
much, very much so.
appreciate it. Item 3 is a resolution adopting the tax levy and the 2014 city budget. Tim? I do. It's right here. Maybe, Bob, do you have a copy of the resolution?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah, this is just the resolution where we're basically adopting the budget. That's the public hearing budget summary dated November 18th, and the tax levy of $28,552,152.09, and that's all the levies of the state, county, school district, mid-state, and the city tax levy.
And I see that you had the numbers, at least some numbers for room tax, hotel motel. Could I see those in right? I guess it's,
Well, that's just what we, just our last collection, or
Okay.
quarterly collection, stuff like that, so.
I mean, all that's included then.
Yeah, the room tax budget is included within the budget. It's, page 11, where the room tax budget is, where it shows the distribution to the visitors, park outlay, and then economic development, and then the budget revenue of $295,000 estimated.
I guess you had it in here last time, I'm sorry.
So-
I hope you're waiting on those, yeah, I guess not.
There's a request forthcoming on the economic development piece that'll be at a December meeting as a request. And you're just approving the allocations.
Okay,
I'm just
right,
making you
right,
aware
right.
there's
No,
gonna
we
be a
talked about
December-
that,
Yep, okay.
how we're gonna
Just
spend
make
it.
sure we're on the same
Right.
page.
So
So-
Andrew and I have been through this budget with Tim numerous times, and the mayor. Are there any questions from anyone else? Anything?
Yeah, I guess just Tim commented, and I just going off the cover. Like 198,000 less in public works. Why is that? Or, I mean, is that?
Well, this was the first year we implemented the activity-based budgeting for the street department and engineering. And a lot of those, when they actually looked at their activity, some of that, their budgets came in less than last year. And then when I took a look at what our total labor is for the street department engineering and looked at what we budgeted, we actually were short on labor budgeted. So I put that into contingency so that when we start getting to this throughout the year, we start looking at what we're actually doing for activity-based, we'll be able to adjust those budgets and move that money back into it.
71,000 in contingency, some of that is.
Yeah, there's more, I think there's more than that.
71, well,
Oh, that's the
there's 292,
Yeah.
but the increase
Right.
was 71.5.
So I think kind of this year is kind of a, this is the first year we did it, it's gonna be kind of a learning experience until we start kind of really tracking some of the metrics involved. And so some of that money is budgeted actually in the contingency up in the general government.
And then like construction projects,
Mhm.
less 300, so we aren't doing, I guess Jim Borski would have.
That's
to answer
600.
that or something.
Well, I think a lot of that had to do is, this year we had the Safe Routes to Schools, which was a significant project that was a one-time grant project.
Mhm.
And then obviously the First Street roundabout and all, that state project was budgeted this year, whereas that's not accounted for that type of activity is not accounted for in 2014. So those are the two big projects that show, kind of. led
So
to
it
that
bumped it up
decrease.
last year.
Right,
Mhm.
and then you get that from, when
Right,
you
I
get
get it.
state projects and things like that.
I had another question, but I don't remember what it was.
We can give you a minute.
No, that's all right, I'll think of it somewhere along the line, probably.
All right, Andrew?
Just, I want to take a look at page 21 fast, tax rate calculations, so, tax rate appears that, state decreasing, Wood County decreasing, Wisconsin Rapids Public School District, which, okay, I'm looking at, is it total tax levy or tax rate that I want to see here for, which one am I looking at for a tax rate increasing or decreasing?
Well, because of the reassessment this year,
Mhm.
your tax rates, because obviously,
Right.
your assessed value went up, on your levies, so you're showing a net 5.2% reduction in the tax rate. I would say that of all these, like, the only one that seemed to go up is probably the schools.
Mhm.
And all the rest, I mean, our levy went up 24,000, which was tied right into that
The assessment.
0.21% net new construction.
Oh, okay.
So our levy only went up 24,000.
But when you get the phone calls, which I've received, that's, it's about the assessed value.
Right, and it's,
So we talked about that last
yep,
time.
and we did, and it's always nice just to kind of, try and reiterate it one more time, and it is, you look at total tax levy and you look at tax rate, so you kind of, one of them shows a minor increase, the other one shows a decrease. I'm not gonna call it a significant decrease, but a decrease nonetheless, so.
And it really comes down to a number of factors, one of which is the assessment. If your
Right.
assessment went up, the average,
Right.
your
And
taxes
that's what
won't
people
go
aren't
up.
getting, right.
If your assessment went down, then your taxes may actually go down.
Right.
That's- I'll try to make a
Otherwise-
comment tonight on that piece too, because I think it bears
It's an
repeating.
educational
I know
piece.
Nathaniel wants to do something potentially on the assessment piece as well, which would educate listeners, readers, I guess.
Well, it can be, I still have trouble grasping it, in full from time to time, so it's, it's not like it's an easy thing to wrap one's head around, to say the least.
Yeah, if your levy dropped, how come your tax rate,
Right.
your
Went
tax
up,
bill went up?
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
still that major disconnect of all the players.
And we got all the stuff in for, it looks like the computers and equalized values and everything like that, all came in finally from the state, so. 11th hour, and it all comes in again as always, as promised.
Right, and the only thing that we haven't got, and that we get in December each year, is the state tax credit.
And that's the municipal buildings?
No, that's the school tax
Oh, right,
credit,
okay.
and it's based on a
Because the municipal buildings one
That
came out.
formula.
3-year average of
Average,
levies compared to all the taxless school district tax
Oh,
levies in the state, so that's why it's always late, because they have to get all those levy
Levy
information
information, right.
before they can calculate that.
So I didn't have any other questions. I only received a couple phone calls and they really had to do with assessed value. Mayor, anything that
Yeah,
seems to be an
No,
outstanding
I
issue
think
from your
just,
office?
we still have some debating to do on some of the other initiatives, sort of thing, and, the passage of the budget is the levy, and then we can have further conversations, with HR and others regarding some of the things that are still out there. But no, I haven't, feedback has been positive, feedback, listeners on the radio has been positive, and I don't have anything to share that bears repeating tonight.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion then to approve adopting the tax levy and the 2014 city budget. Or the resolution adopting the tax levy.
I will say.
One last time, any other questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, none opposed, which brings me to glorious item 4. I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.